Yeah.
Perfect. Easy, man. All right. Well, welcome back, brother. How you going?
Doing well. Yeah, good to be back.
Awesome. So we actually ran this. We did a podcast a couple of weeks ago, but the internet didn't really hold up, and then we kind of lost the whole thing. So we have to run it back for a second time now. So yeah, welcome. It's good to have you back on again. Second time. First time it's going to go live, but last conversation was pretty good. We're getting into some good stuff, so I'm sure this one will be as well.
Yeah, and I got a new background, so
yeah, you do.
I look more professional this time, anyways.
Is it a real background? You actually in the forest, or?
No, I tried my best to make it look like it, but it's just a tapestry and some plants. So
it's all good.
Nothing crazy.
It's all good. It will do. So, brother Nick, tell us, or tell the guys, listening, like a little bit about yourself. What you do and everything like that.
Yeah. So I'm from Colorado. I grew up as an athlete, and biggest thing that I would say I'm known for, and the reason why I put myself out there online, is because during COVID I got injured in my foot. I couldn't walk for 10 months properly. Doctor said my ski racing career was over and that I would maybe walk normally again in a year. But I ended up going down some rabbit holes, the biggest of which was breathwork, and I ended up healing myself with breathwork in 3 months and was able to race the next year, go to Olympic trials, captain the team, started up another company, and then pivoted to a climate tech company here in Austin, Texas, that's eliminating methane emissions from well pads, oil sites. So I'm a tree hugger of the highest order, working in oil and gas and talking about health online, because I just want to give people their power back. I see a lot of people suffering from medical ailments, diseases, chronic pain, anxiety, chronic fatigue. That's mostly what I work with, but I have been working with, those are afflictions that affect everyone. So I'm working with pro athletes, and then I'm working with people that are they've been told no by the doctor. They've been put in some arbitrary box that it's like, we don't really know what to do with you. So they come to me, the Twitter guy, and you know that the medical establishment is failing when so many people online are going to each other and to experts online, and some of which are very good at what they do and some maybe not so much. But yeah, that's sort of the enemy right now is the medical establishment. Of course it has its place, but it's all backwards here. And so I have a story where I came back from an injury.
Box that you were talking about, it's like when people accept the box that they've been put into, they're only going to work in the confinements of that box, whereas it's really just a self-imposed limit on your healing journey. Like you said, you were told you had a whole year, but you took a different route and you did it in a quarter of the time, so I'm interested to hear, like, what is it with breathwork that you use to actually facilitate this fast healing journey?
Yeah, the breathwork was built on the Wim Hof first and foremost. It was Wim Hof style in the beginning for me, but that slowly morphed into something different. Really, it's about combining your mental intention and where you place your attention to the part of the body that you want with a certain desired outcome. So you've got your attention and your intention, two superpowers of your consciousness. When you apply those superpowers of consciousness during breath work to my foot, your body is intelligent enough, and energy goes where attention flows, such that I would basically do the Wim Hof for 30 minutes on my back. It was a modified Wim Hof, and it changed over time. But for the first 3 weeks, it was like Wim Hofing on my back in bed, 30 minutes right when I woke up. And one day I focused on my injury on my foot the entire time and just didn't let my focus waver. And at the end of the 30 minutes, I felt my right foot, and it was way hotter than my left foot. And it was more swollen too. Like there was more energy there.
Yeah.
So that was like, oh, I'm able to consciously direct energy within my body. And given that I'm able to increase the amount of energy in my body through breath work, so I load up on resources by breathing Wim Hof, and then I'm consciously direct it. One of the things I have people do is they close their eyes and feel their brain, feel the left side, feel the right side. Like the energy is moving in your body when you hold your focus on a certain point. So it's this combination of your mind, your willpower, like an inhale is the purest expression of willpower. And then you anchor that to an intention, and you anchor that intention to a place. You hold your focus on your brain. Let's say you want to be smarter, you want to heal from a concussion.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit into like the philosophy, and a lot of it is still theory. Like I had a guy, I might be doing or conducting some studies at UC San Diego on this type of stuff, just because, yeah, that's what I'll say about that. I'm trying to figure out the best way to package it for people, because how do you make it as easy as possible? Not everyone's going to breathe on their back for 30 minutes straight.
Yeah, for sure. And like removing the friction of practice, so it's more accessible to everyone, right? And I'm interested, like, just so for everyone listening, just like detail, the Wim Hof breathing method, if some people aren't obviously familiar with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the Wim Hof method breathing can be boiled down to you inhale completely, you inhale 99%, and then you exhale in a very relaxed way. It's sort of this sigh of relief, if you will, and you don't exhale completely. And so what you're doing is you're inhaling for longer than you are for your exhales. Your inhales have more volume than your exhales. That is going to do a lot of different things in the body, but one of which is it increases the amount of oxygen you have in hemoglobin. And this oxygen can't be used until it's detached from hemoglobin. You can think of hemoglobin as these buses, and the oxygen coming in from the lungs are the passengers. Passengers get onto the bus, but they can't get off the bus until there's a certain amount of CO2. And so the Wim Hof method is you do 30 breaths, inhale all the way, load up on passengers, load up on resources, load up on oxygen. You'll exhale, hold. When you exhale, hold, the CO2 rises in the body, effectively unlinking oxygen from the hemoglobin into the bloodstream to wherever it may need to go. And it also, a lot of different things happen, and some of it which we still don't even understand. There's parts of his method, frankly, that we don't have written in the literature, because we have written off the autonomic nervous system as like things we don't control, automatic things, but he keeps showing that you can control them. So that was my first foray into it all. Is like, well, I have nothing to lose. What happened was I got injured. They said my career's over. Then I pulled my rib doing pull-ups because that was all I could do. And I was like, fuck, I can't do anything. I'm paralyzed within my body. So all I have is the power of my mind and breathing. That's the only way I can put these emotions in motion. And the Wim Hof method breath work, when you are holding on the exhale, that's a really good time to anchor your attention to your foot, to your desired outcome, because you're tapping into the strength that we all have within, that is the same strength you would see in a woman picking a car off of her child. It's like that adrenaline zap that, when overdone, is not good. And a lot of people kind of hate on Wim Hof nowadays, which I think is bullshit, but I see how his method can be destructive for people. A, if you die, like I should be dead, and B, if you're panic breathing and not having a calm mind and overdoing it and being a stressed out mess, and then thinking that panic breathing is going to fix you. So there's nuances to it all. Breath is a journey for everyone, and what resonates with you is not what's going to resonate with me. For me, it was like, I need to power breathe for a month here, get these emotions out, get this energy in, and see what we can do. And it became a positive feedback loop.
Awesome. And so like it obviously evolved into your own sort of practice, right? Of using that attention and shuttling that energy to an area, obviously, that needs that extra energy so it can heal faster. And for your case, it was the foot. So I guess, how did you start transitioning from the traditional, Wim Hof breathing method into what it is you started doing? And then how did that evolve?
Well, I realized that I didn't read Becoming Superhuman by Joe Dispenza, but I read one section. It was like a quote, and it was like, your thoughts create your feeling, and your feeling creates your thoughts. And I just sort of like got stuck on that quote. I was like, yeah, that's super true. And the more I looked into it, the more I was like, that's super true. And at the time, I was researching a rabbit hole of pain. What is pain? How does it work in the body? And a lot of what happens, I think, for people is that because the mind is so powerful, it ends up working against you. And that's what my mind was doing, like in conjunction with being injured and in conjunction with being fucking depressed and having a label from a doctor and not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I was reinforcing these pain signals every single day, where I was telling my foot every day, the first step I take out of bed, ow, fuck, it still hurts today. It still hurts. So I'm sending a signal to my foot, and my foot's like, well, shit, he's saying something's wrong. So let's just keep sending him signals, because it seems like that's what he's looking for. And when you start looking for the pain, you'll always have it. You'll always be there. So that's at the derivative what's happening with people with their diseases and with chronic pain, and like that, it's at least a component that is overlooked by modern medical, So all of that got me thinking, okay, I need to start performing mental overrides on the pain. And the pain, when the signals would come up, I would basically have reversal techniques. So if I stepped on my foot and it hurt a lot, I was like, nope, it feels amazing today. It feels good today. It feels good today. Say it out loud. And just start like crawling my way out of it to a place where I believed that I was having an effect in the right direction. And really just taking a minute and being like, okay, pain signals are not always real. So to become hyperfixated on pain signals is not the route. That's not the way. The way is to begin ignoring them outright. And so if I went for a walk, and the pain was lower than a 4 out of 10, I would be like, we're good. We're 100% today. Like, that's fine. If it's above a 5 out of 10, and this was my own metric, but like, okay, if it's a 5 out of 10, we went a little too hard today. We walked for fucking 7 minutes, not 5, and now it's fucked up. And that's like where I crawled out of. And realizing, okay, the feeling in my body creates my thoughts, and my thoughts create the feeling in my body. How do you hijack that system? How do you placebo hack your way into health and abundance and feelings of inner peace? And that's the journey. That's what I've been on for now 4 years since then. And a lot of it has to do with like placing your focus in certain directions. A lot of it has to do with just being present and leaning into the feelings of the body. The body is where we store all this trauma, all these memories. And I believe that for someone that's fit and healthy, maybe an athlete that's very in tune with their body already, it is a vehicle for spiritual ascension that is more effective than just like using the mind and logic. I'd rather use the body as a teacher, my triggers being my teacher, tension being my teacher, that type of stuff. So it's all just, I'm just circling the drain on that stuff.
Yeah, no, that's interesting, man. And can you go into more detail about how, using your physical vessel rather, over your mind to tap into, spiritual ascension and things like that? I'd be interested to hear your, philosophy on that.
Well, my username on Twitter was Coastbrah for a year, based being synonymous with being grounded on the earth. So a big part of my health philosophy is grounding, is that we are electromagnetic beings with an electromagnetic field, and that we are that is innately part of us. And then water, light, all of that kind of stuff. Based being synonymous with electromagnetism, the intention of the mind through that, like to have your cells with an electron transport chain, and to have these messages within our bodies, and to have this electromagnetic heart, is all signals at the end of the day. They're all teachers at the end of the day. There's knowledge stored within light, within water, and within us that will come forth if we allow for absolute surrender, and instead of resisting things. And at the end of the day, what manifestation is feeling as though what you want has already happened. So, okay, instead of using my brain, I'm going to use my body, because my body, the feeling of it, every single guru will tell you, it's like you have to feel it. You have to feel as though it's already happened. What you appreciate appreciates. Gratitude, if you can be not just mentally grateful, but physically, energetically grateful, gratitude is the ultimate state of receivership. And so to sort of surrender to God, surrender to source, the universal provision, like, I'm just here to experience, I'm here to be a servant to you, and let me see what I actually am experiencing on a day-to-day basis. Not just as men, especially, we're so logic driven that we just will bang around inside of our heads all day. And it's getting out of your head and into your heart, out of your mind and into your body. I have found that's like, oh, well, I thought I was doing good in my life, but actually I'm at tension. Like, my body is tense as fuck. In my heart area, in my whatever area. All of those are teachers, and breath is this razor's edge between the two. So I can always sort of calibrate, all right, where's the tension in my body, but also, am I breathing like a mouse right now, or am I breathing like the turtle? The mouse is going to die in 3 years because it breathes 100 breaths per minute. The turtle will die in 100 years because it breathes 4 times a minute. But anyways, like, you can go really deep, but for me, it's just been, you get in touch with your intuition, then you get in touch with your heart. Your heart is 1,000 times more powerful on an electromagnetic basis. I think it's 1,000, maybe it's 100, either way.
1,000. Yeah, 1,000.
Yeah. So I would rather let my heart lead me, perceive my life through the heart. And since then, my life's just gotten a lot better, because I grew up as a hyperlogical athlete, regimented, always strategizing, time managing, whatever it was. And I realized this past year I was completely disconnected from my body, even though I was super healthy. Like, and even though I'd already connected to my foot and healed myself, on an emotional level, I was fucking a mess still, anxious and stressed, and like trying to be a high performer. It's just not conducive to peak performance. So I could probably talk for 2.5 hours about that, but I hope that kind of gives you some color.
Yeah, for sure, man. And like, with the anxiety and the stress and all those, afflictions, you could say, that you were still dealing with, even being in, peak physical condition or peak health, how were you using breath work as well to cure those?
Yeah, so the breath work has always been the most powerful thing I use. And I took myself from being an automatic transmission. Most of these cars, you got drive, neutral, reverse. Great.
Yeah.
I take people from being an automatic transmission to being a manual. So now you got first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth gears. Let's use these gears now every day to, if I'm stressed out, downshift. If I am exhausted, upshift. Like I did a breathwork right before this pod. Kind of upshifted, got a bunch of energy, but then I centered myself so that I'm not scattering my consciousness all over your podcast. And which I still may be doing anyways. But for actual emotional release and trauma release, and sort of what we're talking about is subconscious reprogramming. When you're breathing, your brain, if you're breathing in certain ways, your brain will fall into more of a theta wave state, alpha wave state. Theta and alpha is when you could say that your computer code is in edit mode. Your internal wiring is able to be moved around. Your subconscious is more suggestible. That alpha and theta brainwave states that occur from breathwork allow you to set your intentions with your mind and your body and your brain all at once. Your spiritual conscious intention, your body is moving, you're showing signs of absolute willpower and acceptance. With each inhale, it's willpower. With each exhale, it's acceptance and relief. So you got consciousness, body, and then your brain too. Your brain is in the right brainwave state, right wavelength and amplitude to just switch code, switch beliefs, like reintroduce new ways of thinking, and frankly erase the negative, anxious thoughts. Anything that's taking you out of the present, you can just delete that line of code with breathwork. And it happens on a level where you're doing it intentionally, but your body's super smart too. Like for me, it was a month and a half, and then I was like, I feel like I've had a whole fucking cleanup. My subconscious programming feels cleaned up. All the stupid videos I've watched my entire life feel like they've just been erased. And and this happened to me in my second light bulb moment when I was driving on the highway and someone cut me off. And I was like, what the fuck? In my mind. But then I checked in with my body, and my body was completely, like I hadn't even increased a heartbeat. I was still super chill. And I was like, whoa. Maybe I don't. Wow. Like that was, I'm not having a physiological reaction to this person cutting me off in traffic. What could that do for me at the start line of a race? What could that do for me when I have an animal in my scope? My nervous system regulated, my physical body not being super reactive, then allows me to have a mind that's not scared or fearful or all over the place. I can center that too. So going all over the place, but like it's mind, body, spirit at the end of the day, and you can combine them and not see them as separate and create one unified vessel of power that you can flame. Instead of this bonfire of energy, you can concentrate it into a flamethrower and direct it at whatever you want. And for some people that's their injury, some people that's an Olympic gold medal, but that's the beautiful thing about the breath is we're all breathing.
And just because you've been doing something your entire life like breathing, it doesn't mean you're doing it correctly, right? And I see this all the time as guys are, like you said, that bonfire, and that energy is there. It's just not directed where they want it to go. They want it directed at this target, but it's just going all over the place. And like with what you're saying about how using the breath to center everything and really gain clarity and accuracy with your energy and target it towards what you want, that's so powerful. And like how for someone listening now, because I guarantee there's going to be someone listening that is in this situation. You know, they have something that they want to achieve, they have a target, but their energy is just not hitting it because it's dispersing in all directions. So what would you, I guess, suggest to, you know, someone like that in that situation, even myself sometimes, you know, as well, is what specific breath work, you know, would you be doing? And obviously it's like you said, it's going to be different for different people, but like what works, what have you found that works for you, or with guys, you know, you've worked with and things like that, for this particular, you know, not problem, but the key to unlock this door?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's a complicated answer, but I'll give you, I don't gatekeep shit, so I'll give you the breath work that
The
has
source,
been most
yeah.
effective for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to understand that some people, like your case, we're talking about someone that has a lot of energy, and is in fight or flight mode most of the time, and is at the end of the day wasting a ton of the energy they have. That's a shame on one side. The other shame is someone who's tired all the time and can't get out of rest and digest, comatosis, like fatigue.
Yep.
This breath work is more for someone who has a lot of energy. So I'll just preface it with that. It's a mathematically ratioed breath work from the Fibonacci sequence that's called the caduceus, or the golden ratio breath, and super esoteric, super effective. What you do is you take some clearing breaths, so 5 to 10 like deep breaths, whatever, and what you would do is you breathe in for 21 seconds, you breathe out for 21 seconds, you breathe in for 13 seconds, you breathe out for 13 seconds, you breathe in for 8 seconds, you breathe out for 8 seconds, you breathe in for 5, out for 5, in for 3, out for 3, in for 2, out for 2, in for 1, out for 1, hold. And this is where I have my clients go through a mental exercise when they hold. It's like release all the tension, relax, re-smile, return back into the body, into the heart, and just let go. That is instant meditation, instant presence, instant flow state. You are in your body, you're in the moment, on the edge. That's exactly where you want to be before you walk into a business meeting, go race, go to compete, have a conversation with your girlfriend, or it's exactly what you want to do if you're working at your computer and you check in with your breath and you're like, I'm breathing like shit. Let me reset. Let me recenter. Because you can think of Wim Hof type style as a big circle. Okay, we're getting a lot of energy. And then this vortex breath, it takes it all the way to one point. So you're cultivating energy and you're circulating energy with Wim Hof or most any other breath work. With this vortex breath, you're then concentrating it all on a single point of focus. That could be your third eye. That could be, the things right in front of you, your tennis racket, your golf club, the hole you have to go hit, whatever it is. So that's been really effective for people, and myself included. I think a lot of people are high performers, and so they're in that upregulated state most of the time. Another good way to get out of that. So if you just think of your breath, like the less breaths per minute, the better. The more in control and the slower you're breathing, the less hyperreactive you're going to be, the more centered you're going to be, the more calm, and the less energy you're going to be wasting. The key is to become so cardiovascularly fit that your automatic is super slow, super controlled breathing. When you're out of shape, it's a lot harder to do that.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. And like, just so I'm 100% clear, when you're focusing the vortex, on this particular point, like you said, whether it's the tennis racket, whether it's the third eye, whether it's whatever it is, that's during the hold at the end, correct?
The hold at the end is just a tiny placeholder. So the hold at the end is, more than anything, my recommendation to people would be relax the body as much as you can, and let any tension in your stomach, your neck, your head, whatever, let all the tension go and just be. The hold at the end is your moment to stop trying and thinking and doing and just be for a moment in your seat of personal power, which is this here and now moment. And then when you open your eyes, you dive straight into work. You dive straight down the ski hill. You step up and you get out on the tennis court, whatever it is. Like that hold at the end of the vortex is your sacred moment to center yourself and really just, okay. And when you don't want to, you'll hold for a little bit. And then when you want to breathe again, try to breathe as little as possible. Try to stay in this tiny little circle. Don't start Wim Hofing right after the vortex, because then it defeats the purpose. It's like, okay, we've got energy. Let's dial in as much as possible. I don't see anyone else online talking about it. The vortex breath. It's really interesting. Awesome. The mathematical implications. Like I've done some interesting. I've followed the Fibonacci sequence doing it and stuff, and it's really cool. Do you know Victor Schauberger at all?
No. Who is it?
He was I believe he was German or he was Austrian, but he was an inventor, and a lot of what his work was based on was on sacred geometry and like the way that water moves in streams. And he created a free energy generator. He actually flew here to Texas, and Rockefeller with Standard Oil was gonna buy his free energy generator, and they just put him in a house for like 3 months and then sent him home, and then he died like a month later. Sus, super sus.
Extremely.
I think that you would appreciate, probably your listeners would appreciate that rabbit hole on YouTube, Victor Schauberger. So incredible.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's all about
definitely
the
looking into that
of
tonight.
Nature.
Yeah,
like he was like Tesla, but for water, and he used nature as his scientific basis. It's cool. Sorry, going on a tangent.
Yeah, no, that's good. I like these tangents. And one thing, so that that vortex breath work that you're talking about, that's what you're using to get out of this hyperactive, fight or flight mode into full focus energy, propelling towards one thing, right? And really recentering yourself. And obviously, correct me if I'm wrong. And what else do you do for the guys that are on the other end of the spectrum, right? They're constantly stuck in this rest and digest state. They're constantly stuck like in that, that comatose inaction state. How do you have a breath work, practice or anything to use for these guys that are stuck in this side of things, to get them into taking that step?
Yeah, there's a lot of different types of breath work that I have for people that want to charge their battery and get into action. But it also is never the full story to just work on one side of the nervous system. So if chances are if there's an issue with the fight or flight side, there's an issue with the rest and digest side, and vice versa. For people that are fatigued chronically, what I would have them do is actually some sympathetic fight or flight breath work, but immediately into a rest and digest form of breath work / a meditation. Chances are if someone is more on the rest and digest side of the nervous system where they're tired all the time, it's because they have a fried fight or flight system. And so a lot of it is like, okay, well, yes, you do need to rest. It's very rare that I find someone with a healthy fight or flight nervous system energy levels that is just lazy. Chances are they're trying, but they're scattered in their thinking and in their energy and in their efforts. So for someone that's in that position where they're just fried and they're super tired, or let's say they're lazy, either way, it's about aligning yourself towards the right thing. First and foremost, you have to get in touch with your intuition. And then the breath work is going to be this consistent thing that every day, brick by brick, you charge your battery more and more. You become healthier on a cardiovascular level and on every other level. But more than anything, you start reprogramming beliefs, getting rid of bullshit that's in your subconscious. With every exhale, you can just be releasing nonsense without even knowing it, because your body's super intelligent like that. But chances are people that are stuck in a rest and digest or just a rut, they're stuck. They can't seem to get motivated. There's a mental block going on. There's some sort of unconscious fear, which is interesting. Being a breathwork coach, it turns into being a life coach real quick. And I love that, because that's something that I've been able to help people with, and it feels really good when you actually get to the root cause of what's going on. Yeah, I could have you lose 30 pounds in 30 days, but you're just going to gain it back. It's like, that's not what I'm in the business of doing. We're here. Let's figure out what the unconscious beliefs are, what the unconscious fears are, which can be revealed in breathwork fucking like on day one. Like, go through a mental exercise. You're like, oh, I know I don't feel safe getting that much money because my bank accounts are fucked up, or something like that, you know? There's one type of breath work for people that want a quick shot of energy. Call it the espresso shot. It's pretty similar to the breath of fire, or the skull shining breath it's called, which is pretty sweet. But you'd basically sit up with like a straight posture, and you would pump your chest in. So it's, imagine you're like doing crunches, but you're just sitting up straight, and you're kind of I don't know if you can hear that, but
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, sweet.
Yep.
So you're using your core to push the air out really quick, letting your diaphragm rebound right away. You do 30 to 50 to 60 of those. Your core is going to be burning. It's going to increase digestion. But you're also pushing blood, cerebrospinal fluid, aka just resources, to your brain, whilst increasing all of your oxygen. So if you do 30 to 60 of those, you'll feel really good. Frankly, I feel invincible no matter what happens to me, whether it's hangover, didn't sleep at all, nothing. You can live on oxygen. And if you know how to load up on oxygen, it's just free energy. It's just more breathing involved. But it's always there for you. That life force, the prana, whatever people believe it is, at the end of the day, that's why I talk in terms of cars. It's fuel. It's just pure fuel that you can tap into. And taking long breaths. So for anyone that wants this simplified, because I'm going crazy off the rails, but if your inhales are longer than your exhales, inhales longer than exhales, you get more energy. Heart rate goes up. Fight or flight is more induced. Body temperature goes up. Your blood vessels actually get constricted. And then on the exhales being longer than your inhales, that's going to be more rest and digest. That's going to be lower heart rate, lower blood pressure, lower body temperature, rest and digest. So for people that want to start charging their battery, I'd recommend doing a set of inhales longer than exhales, followed by a set of exhales longer than inhales. It's like, get all these resources, switch my body into rest and digest as quickly as possible, trust that my body is immensely powerful and intelligent and is going to do all of the correct things with that energy. And then now I'm able to do that whenever. I will do inhales longer than exhales before a workout, and then I'll do exhales longer than inhales after a workout. So I can switch to rest and digest right away. That's like now maximizing my recovery window. So you can get really creative. It can be dangerous. Like, definitely don't do it driving. Don't do it near water. Don't squeeze your muscles on an inhale hold too hard, or in somewhere where it's going to be dangerous if you pass out. I've passed out twice, 3 times. Should be dead. But, you know, God was looking out for me, I guess.
What happened there?
Well, the first time was I was doing breath work on my back, and then I got up to take a shower, and as I was entering the shower, I inhaled, held, and squeezed my muscles, and I just woke up on the shower floor, like slammed my head and shit. Because you have so much oxygen in your body, you come to right away, like you're conscious right away, because it's just this momentary lack of blood in the brain that happens. But that was the first time. Was pretty careful since then. And then another time I was running fucking like 4 weeks before Olympic trials, and like I healed with breathwork. I was able to train 100-hour months and was in legit good shape, but my foot would still hurt every now and then. One day it was hurting on a run, so hour into the run I sit down on a bench, start doing breath work, inhale, hold, squeeze too hard. My heart rate was really high because I just sat down from running, and I slumped over, smashed my head on the metal bench, and got concussed, and then healed myself from that concussion with breath work right before trials. So it was like just stupid shit. Once you find the line, though, you found the line. But I see a lot of breathwork guys online that have not found the line and have no disclaimers and are not safe about it. Like, I have my clients sign a liability waiver because breathwork is really hardcore shit when you get down to it. And if you're looking for the result, it's real. So yeah, I'm trying to start talking about more the safety of everything as well, because that's a big part of it. Some people will have things come up from their trauma, from their body, because all this stuff is stored in muscle tissues, the fear, the trauma. It'll come up, they won't know what to do with it. They'll reintegrate it back in. And it's like, fuck, that was your chance to let go of a demon, and your coach didn't tell you what to do when that stuff happens. Because I think a lot of people's minds start getting more active when they're doing breath work, which is why they don't like it as much. Like, that's exactly what you want to have happen, except you want to start releasing all of it and letting go of it, relaxing out of the tension. The more you relax out of tension, the better your life will be. So anyways, I'm talking too much.
No, I like it. It's really good, man. It's super valuable stuff, and at least for me anyway, I'm loving it.
All right.
I'm taking lots out of this. I'll be implementing all of these, little practices, trying it out.
Love that.
I'll be getting my guys to do it, and I'm sure guys listening are going to be absolutely loving this as well. I want to ask about because obviously, like you're saying, your cardiovascular system is directly linked with the breath, and it's like you said, it's the strongest electromagnetic part of the body. So like with cardiovascular training and how to unlock that upper echelon of function there, what is it that you suggest doing? Because I know you like running, right?
Yeah, so I was a cross country skier for my whole career, and then now I'm doing ultras. Cardiovascular fitness is one of those things that you can see results pretty quickly if you're out of shape, but then once you get to a certain point, it's like little improvements here and there. I would say that for people looking to improve their cardiovascular fitness, higher intensity interval training, like, that's a must. Sauna, that's a must. However, like, longer runs or longer training at a low intensity is actually how you get the most stroke volume of blood through the left ventricle at one time. For each beat, there's the most blood in there, which is stretching the left ventricle the most. The left ventricle is the one that's responsible for a lot of like the cardiovascular gains you get from training if you're an endurance athlete. And so if you are looking to lose weight, I'm a big proponent of cardio because of two main reasons. One, you breathe out fat. So fat molecules attach to CO2 that you are exhaling. That's the main pathway for fat to leave the body. So the more breath work you're doing, the more cardio you're doing, the more you're breathing out the fat, that's going to, by default, increase your cardiovascular fitness. You have less weight to carry around, your power to weight ratio gets better, training becomes easier, etc. And then 2, cardio at a low intensity will be the best stimulus for your heart to become stronger and healthier. That's the best thing to do on those 2 edges. However, my theory that can't really be proved at the moment is that doing breath work or doing exercise in extreme temperatures is the best for your cardiovascular fitness. Obviously, it has to be done safely. It has to be done in a correct way so that you aren't shocking your nervous system. But I work out in the sauna, and then I will work out I'll do breath work in the cold plunge, and I'll do certain movements in the cold plunge at the same time. If you think about it, when you get into a cold plunge, you have your blood vessel, which is this circle. The cold plunge is this force acting against the blood vessel, making it contract smaller and smaller. If you're doing breath work during that time, your blood vessel is getting filled with a lot of volume of red blood cells moving through it. So it's another force pushing against the cold, actively strengthening your capillaries and blood vessels against the cold. I think is a really, really powerful way to increase your cardiovascular fitness and general health. And if you have it's a good way to focus on some part of your body if you're trying to for 30 minutes. Like some of my sessions, I put my right foot in the ice, 30 minutes straight breathing. It's pretty easy to focus on it when it's cold. And I know that it's also acting as a stimulus for the body to be like, hey, I don't know why it's cold at the foot, but let's start like preparing for war. And then at the top, you just need a good cardio foundation. You need to not do as much caffeine, not do nicotine as much. Like I was a nicotine fiend for a while, but because of what it does to the heart, just constricting blood vessels every time you take a dose, it's just another stressor on the body that I personally am like, I don't need to do that in my life anymore, even though I love nicotine. High intensity interval training, the studies they've done show really, really good improvements under the condition that you actually go hard as fuck. So I think a lot of people do HIIT, but they don't go hard enough, where the last 10%, last 5% of your effort going to failure, quote unquote, is where you're going to get the most growth factor. And then honestly, in terms of supplements, like if you can get L-citrulline, beetroot powder, and take that for a month straight, like open it all up, start getting these things moving. The more movement you have, the better. Your heart is built to like it beats every day. Like it's an amazing thing. And it wants to adapt to be using the least amount of energy for each heartbeat. And it wants to be beating less, really. It's beating more because it has to work harder to push blood through all the fat and all the shit from the guy that's drinking, eating Chick-fil-A every day. Your heart's like, what the fuck, man? And I do think that part of getting brain-heart coherence is like, okay, my heart is happy with what I've been doing on a logical level too. And that's part of alignment as well. But that's what I would say. That's another area of expertise for sure, but I'll leave it at that.
Awesome, dude. And like, I suppose obviously with, breath work and being so, knowledgeable on breath work, and I'm sure, you've heard of like breatharians and things like that. And I guess, is that like the end, goal for like someone in, your field, or like, what's your opinion on that side of things?
No, I like food too much.
Yeah, fair.
I'm a big fan of food. I see a lot of breathwork guys online, and I just kind of cringe because I'm like, it's just too much about them and not enough about like what it can do for people. And I take the performance lens through everything, like being an athlete, being a founder, entrepreneur. It's all about performance for me. It's always been that way. My brain's just wired that way. If I can just help the high performers, the people that are shaking things up and changing the world, if I can give them their power back, and if I can also give the people that have lost hope their power back, because at the end of the day, the breath is something that you do control. It's one of the few things you can control. And instead of giving your power away to a doctor or a pill or a process or a protocol, you can take all of that power back to become your own fucking medical establishment and know and have faith that the air you breathe and the water you drink and the light you're under will heal you, and that your body is built to heal. And that's my only, I don't have a really sort of a end goal there. Like, I don't really need to become some Wim Hof like figure. I want the message and the movement to be something that takes a life of its own. Like, this is about taking your power back at the end of the day. This is about going from self-doubt to absolute belief in yourself. I have that, and anyone who's gone through Joe Dispenza stuff that's healed themselves with meditation, they have that. Any athlete that's achieved anything, most people have it, but we have then put all of these conditions upon ourselves. Like, yeah, even though I did XYZ, which was amazing and which is what I wanted to do and achieve, I still am unlovable or unworthy or undeserving, or I can't heal because XYZ. And we're part of our story then, and we're attached to our story, or we're attached to our label. I'm like, fuck all that. You're not your story. The futures doesn't exist. It's an illusion. The only thing that exists is this moment right here, right now. Well, how do you want to feel in your body right here, right now? Grateful, energetic, at relaxation, not at tension. And if I can just get people out of tension and into their seat of personal power and into peak performance, like, that's what I'm all about. So it's more of a performance lens than it would be me going out into a cave in the Andes and living on it. It sounds kind of lit, but I don't think that's gonna happen for me.
Fair enough, dude. Fair enough. So, like, walk us through, what does like a typical, day look like for you then? Like, how many times are you incorporating like simple breathwork practices or more advanced, techniques, or like the vortex practice and things like that? How often, are you doing like a set regimen? Obviously, does it change depending on the circumstances that you find yourself in? Like, how does that how do you get breathwork and different types of breathwork? How do you integrate that into your, day-to-day life?
Yeah, it's a great question. At this point, so much of self-development is about remembering certain things. I have trained myself to sort of just check in with my breath throughout the day. Like, it's a muscle memory thing. It's like, oh, whoa, slow down. What are we doing here? Why are we rushing? A day-to-day, like, it looks like I wake up every single morning. The first thing I do is 3 sets to failure of push-ups or air squats or burpees or something. So I'm out of bed, kind of like, fuck, I don't want to do this, but I'm out of bed. I go do the 3 sets, but my breath work pretty much starts after the first set. So in between each set, I do 30 breaths where I'm doing and this is a type of breath work I think I came up with. Maybe I should trademark this shit, but it's the physiological sigh. So you breathe all the way in, you breathe in, but then you do another, and then you exhale all the way out. So instead of just all the way in 99% and then another inhale, so a double inhale total, I'm doing triple inhales, and I'll do 10 to 15 of those in between push-ups, let's say. Second set, another 10 to 15. Third set, I'll usually be pretty gassed by then, so I'm already breathing hard. I will breathe hard into then a controlled Wim Hof. So I'll kind of like be walking around on my roof. I'll get my keys and my water. I'll drink some water. I'll keep Wim Hofing. I'll sit down. while Wim Hofing, and not panic breathing, but like breathing heavy still, more on the inhale, gaining a bunch of energy, because I want to just load up on energy before I get into this meditation. So I'm loading up on energy. Okay, I've done 30 or whatever. I will then exhale, hold for, I don't know how long it is, but until like my body is really, really in pain. And then I will do probably 10 to 15 pretty relaxed breaths after that, and go into a vortex breath, and then meditate for 30 minutes. And I'll come out of that and I'm like, boom, let's fucking go. And I'll kind of, I'll get some food, I'll have some phone calls, I'll walk around, and then before I get to my computer, or when I get to my computer, a big thing that I used to not do that I do now is slowing down like 20% when I get into work. That slowing down for me is like, okay, I sit at my computer, get everything loaded up. What am I going to work on? Let me just take a second, get really clear. What is the goal? And get that desktop set up in front of me, close my eyes, do a vortex breath, 21, 13, 8, 5, 3, 2, 1. Hold, release the tension, open my eyes, and start breathing as little as possible while I move my cursor 20% slower than I normally would, type 20% slower. And then I get into the task and I get into flow state from there. And then it's all, I don't remember what happens after that, And then after that, I will, let's say, if this is just for someone who's then working a job, because this is basically what I'm doing. But yeah, I'll have a deep work session if I have moments during then that I'm getting calls or whatever. I'll check in with my breath. What I have people do, what I'd recommend them to do, is to set alarms on their phone, 4 to 6 alarms, random times throughout the day.
Yeah.
Like just be like, check in. Or you can take it a step further and start refocusing your reticular activating system, the thing that focuses on what it should be focused on. And you could be like, well, what are you most grateful for in this moment? Or where is the tension in your body right now? Or what were you just thinking about? 4 to 6 alarms, check in with the breath, usually eat a big lunch, and then get tired. So I will lay down 10 minutes, like actually rest, like 5 minutes horizontally with your eyes closed it's really helpful. And what I'll do then is, because I'm kind of on this like, lackadaisical coma feeling after eating a bunch of food, I'll sit on the meditation pillow and I'll do probably a coherence breath for, I don't know, 5 minutes. Coherence breath being 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out. It's kind of an optimal breath for the human being. It doesn't scatter yourself as much as Wim Hof would. And it's kind of that coherent, 6 in, 6 out. It's supposed to be 5.5 in, 5.5 out, but whatever. And then before bed, I'll do the, sometimes I've fallen asleep Wim Hofing, but I don't do that anymore. I will usually just make sure that my exhales are longer than my inhales, and I will be out like a light. So that's sort of how I downshift after that. I will, before each meal, take 10 very conscious breaths. I would recommend anyone just like get on a streak. Just like, okay, what's the threshold for me to be able to check this box? If I do 10 conscious breaths every day, do I get to check the box? Yes. Okay. So then we're on day 1. I'm going to do 10 today, 10 tomorrow. And then you start, it's just a journey. Like, people are going to have their own vibe. They're going to have their own nervous system. They're going to have their own circumstances, but it's a beautiful thing because it's a Swiss Army knife that can work for you in any situation. I'll do like humming. I'll do some crazy humming breathwork shit in the Uber before like a date with a hot girl. Like, the list goes on. I'll do exhale, hold, and then I'll do jump squats in the shower sometimes if I'm on the road. Like, there's a lot to it. Walks are cool though. If you do the walking breath work, I posted the other day, but you exhale, hold, and you pick a tree in the distance, you don't inhale until you get to that tree, or at least you try not to. I don't want anyone dying on my watch, but basically training yourself to become cardiovascularly fit is a function of getting your CO2 levels, your CO2 tolerance higher. The more CO2 you can handle in your body at any one moment, the more efficient you are. And so that's the big thesis underlying a lot of this. Increase your CO2, increase efficiency. Small little doses every day.
I love that, man. It's got a awesome, it's got just amazing application across the board. Like you said, like a Swiss Army knife, right? And you can use the breath to really center yourself, and even, like you said, focus yourself, energize yourself, everything depending on the situation that you find yourself in. And having that knowledge that you do, being able to not just live as good as you can and optimize yourself and being such a high performer, but also helping other guys do that. That's awesome. And we've just crossed the 1 hour mark. My laptop's actually about to die again. It's basically every podcast now. But where can people find you online if they're interested in actually achieving peak performance through their breath? Like, where can they reach out to you, send you a message, get to know you, and where can they just find you online?
Yeah, so anyone who's interested in this, I have a couple different programs, but at Based Ethos, BASED Ethos, on Twitter and Instagram. And then I have a YouTube channel, but if you find me on Twitter, Instagram, I have all my links there. And I'm going to actually be launching a hunting expedition company here shortly, taking people out hunting, because getting into nature, getting into your own nature with the breath, being with people that are on a similar journey, and filling the freezer for your family is a very transformational experience. And I'm trying to bring that into the world as well. So there's going to be some cool things coming in the future. Love the support from anyone that's interested in this. Like, this is such an amazing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Breathwork is an amazing vehicle to take your power back, and going out in the woods with a gun and feeding your family is another way as well. So,
yeah, man, I love that. I'll be down to rip that as soon as that's up and running for sure, man. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, chatting with you again. I've got so much value out of this, and just things that I can implement, with my, day-to-day routine, and just really focusing myself and energizing myself through the breath. And, I'm going to start using that and look a bit more into that vortex breath that you're talking about, using the golden ratio with your breath, which is an awesome idea, and I really want to start practicing that and using it, and I'll report back with how it goes. So yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you again, my man. God bless, keep crushing it. Keep me posted on the hunting expeditions. I'll definitely be keen to rip that. And yeah, peace out.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.